4-1, and it feels so good. Well, it wasn't a pretty win, but it was a win nonetheless. With Jay Cutler out nursing a concussion, Todd Collins got hold of the starting quarterback reins, and let's just say it was not pretty at all. I believe it was a 6.8 passer rating for Collins, and it took the Bears coaches up until the third quarter to put Haney in, which I find a little surprising. But the good news was the defense and the running game. This is like old school Bears football right here. Back in 2005 when we had a rookie quarterback in Kyle Orton who didn't really do much. And we had to rely on our run game and our defense. And that's what this felt like. And it was like our offensive line, we know the offensive line sucks. And basically our quarterbacks are on their own. And our running backs, well, they're kind of, SOL too, but Matt Forte found a way to light up this run game. He found a way to get into the end zone by himself. The offensive line did perform better than it has in the past, though, because when you have 218 rushing yards, your offensive line is a little bit. Though, of course, majority of those rushing yards came off a couple of big long runs by Forte, but the run game looked great. Forte had 2 touchdowns and 166 yards rushing. And there was an emphasis that the Bears were going to need to stress the run game with Cutler out and throwing Collins in here, which, didn't think he'd be this bad. He thought he would go in there and manage the game. Normally when you throw 4 interceptions, you have a quarterback rating of 6.8, you're going to lose. But thankfully for the Bears, their defense and their run game in Forte and Chester Taylor, they came through. Julius Peppers received a sort of warm homecoming until he started, messing with the crowd a little bit, which was nice to look at. But Peppers, week in, week out, I can't say enough about him. He is, I don't know, he's worth the $100 million that the Bears shelled out. This defensive line looks rejuvenated, even despite Tommy Harris falling on the ground every play, out of the frame. There's Peppers every play. He's running across the field making plays. And especially he had a poor Jimmy Clausen, Panthers rookie quarterback. He didn't stand a chance. There was one play where the interception where Peppers tipped the ball and while on his knees caught the ball as well for the interception. And the defensive line was very dominant. Israel Adonijah, who played opposite of Peppers, had a big game. He had 3 sacks on Clausen. And you think back to the Mark Anderson thing. They released Mark Anderson last week, and it kind of opened the door for Izzy. And it was nice. It was nice to see someone other than Peppers doing something on the line, and it was a group effort on the defense. The Panthers are a bad football team, and the defense kept them in this game. Even though the Bears' offense was doing nothing, and Collins kept turning the ball over, you didn't really get a feeling that the Bears could lose this game, and that was because of the defense and because the Panthers are that bad. What can you say? The Bears special teams also had a big game on Sunday. Danielle Manning and Devin Hester both had some incredible returns. Danielle Manning nearly took 2 back to the house. Hester nearly had a punt return taken back to the end zone, but he kind of ran out of sideline room to run on. He had just stepped out of bounds. He didn't have anywhere to go. But, and there's news coming out that possibly Hester's plays on offense might be scaled back a bit so that he can focus a little bit more on punt returns, which is where he's at his most dangerous. There's no feeling to describe when Hester gets that ball in his hands and you're just like, oh, he can take it back. We got a little taste of that a couple weeks ago against Green Bay, and you can tell Hester he wants it real bad. And don't expect his time on offense to get cut back too severely, because with Cutler coming back, the Bears are gonna kind of stray from this run attack and go more towards the passing game, which is Cutler's strength. You think Mike Martz is gonna stick with that game plan more than once this season? No, they're basically forced to rely on the run game because they didn't have a quarterback. Jay Cutler addressed the media on Wednesday afternoon. He is officially cleared to play Sunday against Seattle. He addressed the many questions that had been floating around all week. He hadn't spoken to the media since before the Giants game, because after his concussion, he didn't speak to them afterwards. He didn't meet with the media the following week. And among the questions he addressed was the fact that he was not cleared to play against Carolina. There was a rumor floating around that he had been, that the coaches decided to sit him. But even so, that was a smart choice. You have to ensure that he is healthy enough and that you don't risk getting him. Why risk him getting another concussion when that will be much worse? Another thing he addressed was in that 9-sack game against the Giants, there were moments that he did not know what was going on. He described it as a dizziness and fogginess, and he wasn't aware what was going on at certain times. It's not good. But, you know, we had some questions about his concussion, and thankfully it's not going to limit him this week. But, I mean, it was kind of smart by the Bears to do so. And Cutler also cleared up that diabetes had no ruling in this whatsoever. He called it ridiculous. Some interesting news from the Bears offensive line. Chris Williams, who has been suffering from a hamstring injury for the past few weeks, which he injured against Dallas, finally returned to practice on Wednesday. But the big news broke was that Williams is being moved to left guard because Roberto Garza, he's having his knee scoped, and that means Frank Omiyale is going to remain left tackle and Jamarcus Webb is going to remain at right tackle. You know, the Bears basically are riding Williams. He's our left tackle, kind of like the old Rex is our quarterback. Chris Williams is our left tackle. I guess you can say the best thing that happened to the offensive line this season was when Williams got hurt against Dallas, because I don't know, just Frank Omiyale he's not definitely not the best left tackle in the league, but I mean it just opened up because the Bears were just sticking with him no matter what. It wasn't this whole new theme of accountability that the Bears and Lovie Smith are bringing about, with benching Tommy Harris and benching Devin Aromashodu. You're wondering, this same rule should be applied to Chris Williams, and it looks like they are doing that because he doesn't look. He played right guard. No, sorry, he played right tackle last year when we had Orlando Pace, and then he switched to left tackle a couple of games towards the end of the season. He did well, but maybe Williams is not a left tackle. But the Bears are sticking. They want to get a sense of continuity going on this offensive line, because if these same guys do not play together, they're not going to gain this sense of continuity, and they're not going to be able to develop together as an offensive line to protect Cutler. They need to play more with each other. They can get in sync, and so they can keep their QB upright. That's the most important thing. We do not need another Cutler concussion. Going into this week's game against the Seattle Seahawks. This is another easy game. We're in the easy stretch of the Bears' schedule. This should be a pretty easy game at home. The Seattle defense isn't too difficult. They defend well against the run, but they are actually ranked very towards the bottom in terms of pass defense. They're actually allowing an average over 300 yards per game. And, that poses well for the Bears offense. You can expect Cutler to come out throwing, because this is Mike Martz, and Cutler was only gone for one game. I think they're going to delve right back into that. Though they might, they would be smart to utilize the run game a little bit more than they have in the past. You see that Forte can be successful, and he can get in the end zone. And if you develop that run game more, it'll help the offense. It'll help the passing game so much. And you won't have as many blitzes, and it'll open up the deep ball a lot, and that could be great, especially for Johnny Knox. On defensively, Seattle actually lost receiver Deion Branch. He was traded back to the New England Patriots after the whole New England traded Randy Moss thing. And so basically the Seahawks' most dangerous offensive weapon is not there. So basically, they're game playing against Matt Hasselbeck, and I mean, I think the defense can. I think the defense can, I think the defense can get after him. They did against. I know Clausen was rookie quarterback, but you're finally able to see. Hopefully, the pair of Peppers and Adonijay can pressure the quarterback, and they can get get a couple more sacks and just force Hasselbeck to make errant throws, to toss an interception, to turn the ball over. It's happened in the past when he's played the Bears. So it could wind up being a big day for the Bears secondary, because Hasselbeck tends to just kind of throw the ball up for grabs at times. So I mean, it could be a big day for the defense. Who knows? But I'm gonna go with the Bears to win this game. It's not gonna be quite a blowout because the Bears, they haven't really blown anyone out. It's not gonna be too close though, I don't think. But I'm gonna go with the Bears to win this game at home. And I think this is when their defense and their offense can both mesh. This is a good team for the Bears offense to get going against. Carolina would have been better if Cutler hadn't been hurt. But with Cutler back, this is a good time for the offense to get into sync. Because then they play Washington the following week, who beat out Green Bay Sunday and actually left Aaron Rodgers with a concussion. But yeah, this is a good time to get their offense going, and their defense, and their special teams. I mean, the Bears are 4-1. They're 4-1. They're tied with the Atlanta Falcons for the best record in the NFC, as well as two other teams with the best record, two other teams in the AFC. So there are 4 teams, including the Bears, that have the best record in the NFL. We know the Bears are going to get no respect for it. They're going to say, oh, they should have lost that Lions game. Oh, Dallas, they're not as good as they should have beaten them. Green Bay, oh, blah, 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 penalties killed them. Oh, Carolina, you just, I mean, they're not going to get no respect. Carolina was known for a team, blah, blah, blah. The Bears aren't going to get respect for the record. It doesn't matter. They're not an underdog this week, which is a surprise, but they actually tend to play better when they are an underdog. But no respect, it doesn't matter. Jay Cutler was asked by a reporter, do you guys think you're a good team? He's like, yes, I do. You guys might not think so, but we're 4-1. And that was probably the best thing Cutler said all week. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch Sunday. The Bears are returning home to Soldier Field. And the Seahawks are coming into town, and I'm picking the Bears to win this one. This has been Alyssa with Bears Bets. Have a great weekend and enjoy the game.